Your mindset is everything. It's what you see, it's what you feel, it's what you pray about. All of that sits in your mind and it develops. So if you're seeing negative constantly, you're going to go negative. If you're feeling negative constantly, you're going to go negative. One of the things that I try to tell people that are going through this process, don't worry about what man has done, because it ain't always about what God will do. You're here for a reason. Your purpose is within that. And you have to set your mind to that purpose. I'm not there for the doctor to say I saved another patient. I'm not in that realm. I'm in the realm of I've been saved to save another person, to give my blessing of being saved to another person who's struggling, another person that's, where's your mindset?
Greetings, family. I'm Coach Mark, and thank you for joining us today for Season 2, Episode 3 of Mind the Business That Pays You. Today, I have two powerful individuals with me. We're going to be talking about the fact that we are more than overcomers. And I tell you what, God is merciful, and He helps us get through what we want to do. But why I wanted to do this episode the day after I had surgery, I can't tell you. But I can kind of tell you, but we're going to, like I said, God is merciful. So what we have here in front of you is 3 cancer survivors. And what we want to share with you is the fact that we are more than overcomers. Because a lot of times when people hear the word cancer, they hear it as a death sentence. But we want to tell you, no. And you say, well, Mark, what does that have to do with business? Let me tell you this. Your health is your wealth.
Yes.
If you don't know nothing else, let me tell you. Now, when you have your health, that's one of the, if any of you have ever read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, one of the principles of being wealthy is being healthy. And so I want my guests today to introduce themselves, starting with Miss Nanette Buchanan. Just say a little bit about yourself. We know that you're a publisher, but what else would you like the people to know?
I am, first and foremost, I am a wife. I'm a mother. I am a cancer survivor. Those things are at the head of who I am. I am an author. I am a speaker, and I am a podcast host. And I
Yes.
do assist others and help others with the publications that they want to put out or introducing their business. And that was, the platform that I've always had.
And
I'm a
what's the name of
survivor.
your podcast?
My podcast is iPen Visions podcast, iPen Visions. For some reason, everything seems to connect with this last part of my journey that I just went through, which is the cancer journey. Because
Okay.
I've
So we're
been
going to get into some
penning
more of
visions
that.
for years. And
Yeah, we're going to
I
get into
named
some
it.
more of what you're doing, but Cliff, introduce yourself.
Clif McKnight, my pleasure and privilege being in your company, author of the Amazon best-selling book, If You Can't Calm the Waters, Learn to Ride the Waves, How to Succeed in Turbulent Times. And in pre-launch is Get Off Your Butt from Execution to Implementation. So I have the privilege, though, to be able to help and to transform and to create possibilities for folks, primarily by sharing some of the journey and education and training that we've had over the decades.
Okay. And Cliff, you were on an earlier podcast with me, and so our guests do know you. But I asked you to facilitate a few questions for us. Could you get that first one for
I
me?
sure could. Nanette, first of all, the big question is, what was this journey taught? What has it taught you? And what do you know most about yourself as a result?
I believe the journey has taught me mostly how to depend on the unknown. I didn't know too much about what was going to go on with me or why was I going through this. So I think that strength actually came from it. I think unknown strength came to play.
You know,
Knowing some of the things that I've been through and knowing how how or why I've been through them is important.
sometimes I've had Nanette, this what they say, hindsight is 20/20 vision, but insight is golden. A little saying there. But in hindsight, I look back at my journey and I count a blessing as blessing now. Some of the challenges I had before I was diagnosed with cancer, I had all of these prostate problems and stuff, and those problems led me to getting checked. If I hadn't had them, If I hadn't had to deal with urgency and frequency, I may not have gone in the first place. And what was a real pain in my literally in my butt turned out to be a blessing. Sometimes we do get that at the end, don't we? I can't hear you. You hit your button again, please. Microphone.
You
There you
find
go.
you find out where your strengths are. You find out, you find out how strong you are and who you really are because you have to depend on you. You have to depend on your spirit, your faith, your belief. Even though we go to the doctor does the surgery, but us healing and being able to accept what we're facing means that you have to find strength within.
Yeah, Mark, you're discovering that right now, aren't you?
I tell you what, man, I wanted to do this today because, boy, I had a night last night, but I just could hear we are conquerors. We are conquerors because we go through a lot of things, but it's like, I'm so grateful. I had my wife here to help me. I have you all to lean on to talk to today. It's just a blessing. No matter what you go through, it's a blessing to look around and try to extract what the Lord is teaching you because when you are touched by anything in your health, it touches everything else. They mess with my voice a little bit. Our voice, we all speakers here. That's our money maker. I woke up, get ready to fight. You know,
Well, man, Michelle in her immutable way said, "What do you mean he's going to do his podcast? He just got off. What's the matter with you guys? What's wrong with you people?" And I really appreciate her heart for that because what she knows we all need to heal, and what is you want to be able to share with your listeners these experiences. And got Nanette over here. You've been through it, and you now say you're currently receiving treatment as well. Is that what I understood?
Well, I had my last radiation treatment about 2 or 3 months ago, but as you well know, we're on a roller coaster. The ride ain't over. It ain't
yeah.
over. Just because they say, "Hey, we got it. We got all of this." You still got to go every 3 months. You got to go up the steps, get on the roller coaster, and hold on. Strap in and hold on, and hope that they don't say you got another hill to climb. You got another dip to go through. You got another curve to hold on to. I felt that I was facing a period at the end of the sentence. And then I realized God put a comma there.
Yeah.
It's not a period, it's a
Mhm.
comma. Well, that means that I gotta hold on. I gotta go back up the steps again, get back in the seat, strap in, and hold on for the ride again. Because even though people say they're cancer free, they're in remission, every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, you still gotta go for those scans, those checkups, and each time it delivers you the same hit of fear that you had the very first time.
Let me ask you this, Nanette. In terms of business, how do you translate the skills? Because a lot of times we talk about in business feeling the fear and doing it anyway, right? Because we feel fear when we have sometimes business transactions and we don't know what we're going up against. But when you have these large health situations, tell people how we glean the strength out of that
Mm.
to be resilient in business.
Well, there's one sentence that we use in business that we also use in life. You got to go through it to get through it.
Hey, right.
So if you're going to build a business, you're going to have to learn everything about the business. You're going to have to learn where there could be problems, where there might not be problems. You have to learn, what do I need to add to and give me a little edge on what it is. So you yourself, you just had surgery. Me and Cliff told you, hey, your throat is hurting. Here's your edge. Get some tea, get some water, get some ice. So there's things that you have to add to your business, just like you have to add to your health. As
Mhm.
much knowledge as you want to know about yourself, you need to know that knowledge about your business. And it doesn't stop because you've been in business for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, 15 years. You still have to collect knowledge. You have to do the same thing with your health.
Now, Cliff, I would ask you that same question about resilience transfers from your health situation to your business.
Yeah, Mark, thank you. And I borrow from Ona Brown and your mentor Les Brown. They said, you
Mm-hmm.
don't just go through this, you grow through this. And when we're
Mhm.
developing business, we understand that all the preparation that you heard Nanette talk to us about, all of the things that we are trying to do to garner ourselves so that we can build a business, still are subject to go askew because they are just unforeseen circumstances and they have certain consequences that may not be anticipated. Well, when you see how you have, not only survived, but put yourself in a thriving mentality for your health, that does spill over into your business. And you say, well, Don, I've been through this. I have Steve Harvey, I have 100% success rate at going through stuff and being on the other side. So you will respond and recoil.
Well, let me tell you this, Cliff. I want you to tell your dear wife that her sentiments exactly match my wife's. Because my wife said, "You about to do what?"
And you know,
And I said, "Baby, go downstairs, baby. I got it. I'm all right." She said, "You ain't all right. I'm the one that was in here with you all night, acting like a big old baby."
so we appreciate them both, don't we not? The Michelles, yes.
We do, but I tell you what I wanted to do, and I know, our Michelle's know that the timing is questionable, but it's out of love to let people know that, hey, you know what? I was on that table 5 hours, but God is merciful. God is good, and we are overcomers. And I don't care what you're going through right now. You're gonna be all right. That's the whole point.
You said something to us before we got started, and I want to thank you for that, Mark. And that was, we are conquerors, and we're doing
Yes.
it. So,
Mhm.
please continue with that. And Nanette, maybe you can rest your voice, Mark, and have her say something first, and go from there.
Well, the thing about being a conqueror is understanding where your position is. And I always look at some of the small creatures that we deal with, ants. Just look at how well ants function and how ants work and how they tirelessly do things and how they continue and how they connect to others to make sure that they can build. And this is what we're doing right here. We got Mark, and Mark said, "Hey, I want to do this. And how can I do this? Because I might fall a little bit because my voice is a little bad. I just had surgery and I might not be. Well, let me call two others that will help me through this climb and help me through this situation on air and off air. It
Yes.
doesn't matter. We have to become that unit that says not only do we conquer, we help others conquer.
You know,
Not only
Mhm.
do we uplift, we help lift others.
Mhm.
Not only do we walk the beat, we hold hands and help you walk. You can't walk today? I'm going to help you walk today. You
That's
know,
right.
that's what we have to learn in business as well as in life. That
Yes.
we just not in this, and we should not be by ourselves in this, nor should we look back and say, I got it all and I ain't sharing it. No,
Right.
I got it all because it was meant to be shared.
That's
And
right.
and that's just the way that I think.
Mhm.
meant to be shared. My daughter Chelsea wrote a children's book, Milton's Buttons, and she said something in that I think really fits this. And Mark, you and I, we talk about our daughters all the time, but say, that you build, there's unity in the community. And if you spell
Right,
Yes.
community out, the last part of it is unity. And what this
right.
does is, you ask us to do this and we say, "Oh, let's come and do this for Mark." And the truth is it ends up being a blessing to us as well and a blessing to your listening.
Exactly.
So your
Yes,
listeners. So the
yes,
more we are willing to position ourselves and maybe to put ourselves in the beginning in a little level of whether it be discomfort or just stretching to help another, it really does bless all of us. Thank you for the invitation.
exactly.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
You got another question there for us, Cliff?
Yeah, I do. This is something, um, and it kind of keeps us short. Let me give a brief response on this, but Nanette, finish the sentence for me. Surviving cancer taught me that life is too short to. So that was number 13. That
Yeah, and it takes me a minute, even when people say that, when people say life is too short. Who determines the length of our life? Who determines that? You know what I mean? We can cut it short by doing things that are not conducive to long life. We could cut it short to not being open to a change in life. We can cut it short by refusing to survive.
mm,
A lot of people go through this transition of cancer and they lay in it and say, well, this is it. They don't think about tomorrow. They think about, well, I may not make it. Let me get all my paperwork together. Let me get all of it. I just don't give in to that. So what it has done for me is too short to live in fear.
Yeah.
I'm not living in fear. If you tell me I got 3 months left, I am not laying down for those 3 months. It's too short to live in fear. I can't.
Well, Nanette, I don't know if you remember the old comedian. He said his doctor told him he had 3 months to live. He said, well, I don't have the money till 6 months. He said, I'll tack on another 3 months.
Right? Papa need a new
Yeah.
pen.
Yeah. 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 And I'm gonna be the best I can for those last 3 months if that's what it is.
Well,
Hmm.
Be
listen,
the best I can is not laying on my back. The best
That's
I
right.
can is not being in fear. The best I can is not being in sorrow. And the best that I can is not leaning on those that love me to the point where I make them fearful as well.
yeah, the journey is not just ours, right? It's the people around
Exactly.
us, the people that love us, the people that we want to reach. God has given us all a task to do on behalf of others and they continue to roll. So we're not going to leave a day early. We're going to leave right on
Mhm.
time. And we
And
already
and and
know
we're
the
we're
end.
beautifully made. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
beautifully made. We're purposefully made. So I asked at the point that I was diagnosed, well, what is my purpose? If I got this, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And immediately in the process, I began to see different things. I met Mark in the process. I met you in the process. There's been so many different things that have opened up and said, hey, have you tried this? Hey, have you seen this? In the process.
Mm.
If
Hmm.
I laid on my back and said, woe is me, I wouldn't have met Mark. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have met Mark. I wouldn't have met you. There's so many things that I could look at since the process started that I could say, "Oh, you know what? This is a whole different level. I never would have went this route."
Hmm. And so let me ask this. Cliff, you answer that same question. Life is too short to.
Life is, and you know what? I think it resonates a little bit with her. What do you call it? Sit in the squalor of regret. Stay in the know. Stay in purpose. Stay on time. Live, and love. Life is too short to regret.
Mhm.
No, whatever it is that's happened has happened. And we can take and embrace the learnings from those regrets. Whatever didn't happen hasn't happened. Maybe it's time to be about that business. Sometimes, I think I told you, Mark, in our offline conversations, how I used to be, I'm not proud of it. I used to be, a little bit bothered by people that talk about what happens after they have a life-changing experience. Why you wait till after? Why didn't you do this
Mm.
because I was on this path for trying to continue to grow. What I didn't know is that what they are is courageous heroes because
Hmm.
that it can take you out. I was down and out for a while just because I was like, how could I as the breadwinner, how could I as the protector, almost, take my children's life and my wife's life because of, an accident. And it took somebody, a perfect stranger, to knock me off of that. And I said, well, how did you get through it? And she said, you just got to keep going. Matter of factly, you got to keep going. And I realized that I hadn't embraced the one gracious power that we all have, and that's God, man. To go back there and say, God, you let this happen, or it happened. Now I've got you to help me through. So yeah, that's too short for regret.
I
Mhm.
got you. And Nanette, let me ask you this, and Cliff, I would ask you the same thing. And I just want to hear your perspective on this because a lot of people they associate any kind of illness with limitation, right? It's like I'm ill now, so I can't do this. But it seems like you opened this to wait a minute, this is allowing me to get focused on my purpose. What's the difference in those thought processes?
I think we limit ourselves because, again, fear.
Say it
We
again.
we limit ourselves a lot of times because we're scared as to what can I succeed or will I succeed or fear. A lesson that my father taught me, and in this process, I've been able to do a lot of reflection. When you're laying on your back and you're taking meds and you're not able to get up and you're not able to you do a lot of reflecting. You go back over some of the things that your ancestors told you, some of the things that you listened to, but you half listened. You know, you go back and you reflect on some of those things. And one of the things that my father said, and I use it quite often now because I realized that how it connects. He used to tell me all the time, I was the only child. So he didn't have the little boy to play with, you know. But so it didn't stop him though. He taught me how to play everything. I learned all the sports. I learned how to bet on sports. I learned everything, just like he had a son. But his main thing in all of that was you have to learn how to lose first before you can become a winner. And that's in health too. How am I going to overcome an obstacle in health if I'm looking at myself saying, hey, I did this, but I can't overcome? No, in order for me to win, I got to lose first. So yes, there's been periods in my life where I've lost, but this was a big loss. This was a big fear. Would I be able to come back from this? And the spiritual answer was, well, what you gonna do?
Well,
You
Nanette,
laying
well,
there.
Nanette,
You can't do nothing laying there. What you gonna do? Get up.
in that, Nanette, in that vein, a lot of people that lose translate that into them being a loser,
Mhm.
as opposed to having suffered a loss. And
I
so,
transferred I learned how to transfer the loss into how do I become better?
mhm,
This has taught me this. Now, how do I take that and become and if I can't become better for me, can I become better for you? Can I
mhm,
become better for my kids? Can I become better for my family? Can I become better for you? Because I don't want you to see the fear that I have, which may hold you captive. No, I want you to know that you can overcome that. You can be better than that. Like you said in the beginning, we are conquerors. Well,
mhm,
a conqueror doesn't go to battle and not know what the war is and not know that he could possibly lose it all.
mhm.
But his will is to win.
So, Nanette, let me ask you this because we had a conversation before the conversation.
Mhm.
And one thing that you mentioned was that a lot of overcoming when you're in a situation like this is not just about the physical, it's about the mental and the
Yes,
spiritual. And
yes.
so, speak to me about mindset shifts that'll help you fight during a situation
Your
like
mindset is everything. It's what you see, it's what you feel, it's what you pray about. All of that sits in your mind and it develops. So if you're seeing negative constantly, you're going to go negative. If you're feeling negative constantly, you're going to go negative. If your emotions are set on that. One of the things that I try to tell people that are going through this process, especially with cancer, don't worry about what man has done, because it ain't always about what God will do. You're here for a reason. Your purpose is within that. And you have to set your mind to that purpose. I'm not there for the doctor to say I saved another patient. I'm not in that realm. I'm in the realm of I've been saved to save another person, to give my blessing of being saved to another person who's struggling, another person that's not understanding. Where's your mindset? Have you set your emotions on not being well? Have you set your
that?
spirit on not being well? Are you speaking today I'm not well? How about
Yes.
today I'm better than I was yesterday?
Yeah. And so let me let Cliff touch on that, Cliff, about spirituality as well as the physical.
Thank you, Mark. I'll tell you, the real source of power, of feeling, of working and moving comes from our spirituality, from our faith. You know, the core of life really and interconnection is the spirit. And if you can take the time, I recall when before we even got started, I said, let me take a moment here and get my mind right in prayer and meditation, meaning let me talk to God and let me listen, right? So as we deal with these kinds of challenges, it's not just cancer. It could be a lot of things. For some of us, you might be at an age or a stage where you feel like, no, this is it. Nobody in my family has lived past this certain age, or you're caught up with some kind of other kind of ailment, or you had an accident, or any number of things that can really make you question your mortality. Well, it's okay to stop and look, but then you need to take that, or you have the opportunity to take that and use it. Like, what did it say? The wind under your wings. Use it to move you forward with your spirituality. If your spirituality doesn't let you do that, then really explore and get back and get close and start connecting with other people to make sure that we're talking about spirituality. Because in fact, that's what we're talking. We're talking about God's lifting us up in every situation. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what happens with faith? It leads to focus, and
Mhm.
focus can take us to that next step, man, so we can move and develop our momentum and get things going. You know,
Mhm.
I said, that's okay, but just the idea is it helped me to launch the book, man. I had that second book in me, but it didn't really pop until getting in touch. I had to listening and learning about you and your challenge reminded me, if I'm gonna just tell it like it is, right? I've been through
Mm-hmm.
it, going through it, but then I can forget about some things. God tapped
Mhm.
me on the shoulder and says, "But your boy, that's your boy. He's got some things to
Mhm.
go through. What you gonna do?" And so now all of a sudden I go get off my butt. And from
Mm-hmm.
procrastination, it's actually to execution. You had me as a guest
Mhm.
in your summit. You remember you did a business summit. Man, you've been busy. You have taken your spirit, your soul, and you've been pouring it out to people from Harvard to England to, you've just been about your
Mhm.
business. And that's, I think, is a lesson and a lesson of spirit from faith to
Mhm.
focus.
Now, Nanette, I'm gonna say this. The three of us, we're storytellers. Storytellers are so powerful because we can get into people a message. And as survivors and storytellers, how can we better support those who are just starting the journey? That's a real question just for me, but it'll help others. It's like I was so focused on helping my mother who was ill in
Mhm.
91. And then I went to the doctor and they told me it was something wrong with me. I said, wait, this is not the
Mhm.
natural. What's going on? And so help me with that kind of thinking.
Think that all of us that are storytellers, we are seers. We see things sometimes that people don't see. We go deeper into what is visible. We go into wanting to touch the emotions of our readers. We want to touch the mental of our readers. And in this case, we are now on a part where we're touching the physical. We're touching what they feel. We're
Mhm,
touching what they can grasp onto and really say, well, they've been where we've been. We can tell a story about being a religious leader, and somebody that's not a religious leader would look at it and say, "Well, I'm not into that. I'm not that deep into it. I'm reading the
mhm,
Bible and I'm not that deep into it. I understand the word, but I don't really understand what it's like to be, a disciple or to be a healer. I don't understand all of that." But when you talk to somebody that has been sick, it doesn't matter what the sickness is. They know that they've been down. They know
mhm,
they're no longer, you two are the men of the family. They no longer can be that man of the family. They can no longer be the leader because they're weakened in their sickness. So we can actually, as storytellers, we can hit a level of understanding that many people don't know about, that
mhm,
many people can't relate to, because we do it naturally. When you want somebody to join in and focus in your business is brilliant and your passion and about your job, you know how to hit it because you are a storyteller. You can use a synopsis and a scenario and people, yes, yes, yes. Well, now you have another story to tell.
Mm,
You have another connection to make. You've crossed another bridge that will bring people in and say, well, man, I ain't going to have no business. I've been sick like this for months. No,
mhm.
now you can tell them, heal from your sickness emotionally, physically, mentally, and build that business.
mm.
And use all
Don't
of the
let that happen. Don't
yeah, use everything that you gleaned in that to facilitate your business. So how would you
to
address that?
facilitate your business. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I really love how Nanette says that, and it's like the same coin, Mark, but if there's heads
Mhm,
and tails,
mhm,
and the other side of it sometimes says, I've gone through it, and to be honest, it's knocked me down. Right now, the wind's knocked out of my lungs. I can't breathe. All I can do is kind of raise my hand so I can open up my rib cage. Well, you know what? While I'm doing that, let me go ahead and praise God. Or while
mhm,
I'm on my
mhm,
Exactly.
knees, let me go ahead and say a prayer of thanks for all the things that I still have.
Mhm.
Mark, you remember my friend Elliot from well, you know him, but also in If You Can't Calm the Waters, Learn to Ride the Waves. In my interview with him, he talked about what happens when a person falls down and goes down. He says, you know what, a man is really upset that they lost 25% of their capacity until they go down to 50%. Then they wish they had that 75% back, right? So just remember that you have what you have and stop worrying about what you don't have anymore. The other thing that I think is this other side of that coin is sometimes we are weak. Sometimes even when we say, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. You remember that's biblical. And God will help that sometimes through other people, other circumstances, other things that we've read, man. And I can tell you, I think I told you I lost a very good friend, and then his brother passed recently out of Charlottesville. And I'll tell you what he did for me. He showed me how I can continue because he had a lot more going on than I did. And that man just would keep on going. His family and support, his girl, his lady, they would have to physically lift him to take him places sometimes. He was going. And I can tell you there have been times where I just, I felt a little bit low energy, and I let it stop me. Now, let me caution you. I'm not saying push through all the time. I'm saying just recognize that you can. And then if you are inspired, take that.
Got it. Nanette, let me ask you this. Define thriving for me, not just surviving in this new chapter of life.
I think it's a piggyback of what Cliff just said. That you could just sit back and allow someone to take care of you. Your wife will take care of you. She loves you that much. But eventually your wife gonna tell you, Mark, you can get up and do some of these things.
Yeah, she will.
You know,
What was the name of Cliff's book? Get off your butt.
That's right.
between the thrive and the survive. She knows the type of person that you are. She knows, my husband will say, "What's wrong with you?" That's the first thing he'll say. If I'm not doing, maybe not on the same pace, maybe I'm not running anymore, I'm jogging a little. Maybe I'm not jogging anymore, I'm walking a little. But when I sit down too long, question is going to become, "Hey, what are you doing?" And that's in anything that you do. That's just the little things. It doesn't have to be, your podcast every week or whatever. It could just be in the little things. Those that love you, they don't want to see you just survive. They want to see you thrive because you've been thriving. And if you haven't been thriving, what do people say? You need to get a hobby. You need to get something to do. So that's more than surviving. They're suggesting, even the people that don't do what we do, they're suggesting it. When you retire, what do they say? "No, man, you don't need to just be sitting. Go play golf."
That's right.
Go.
That's right.
They tell them you need to thrive. Your living is not just in survival.
Now, how would you address that, Cliff?
Well, thank you. I was just going to say, if you don't mind, we joked and we talked about getting off your butts, but it's butt on the other kind of butt. Get off of I would do it, but I'm too tired. I would do it, but I don't have the education. I would do it, but I'm too old. Let's get off of those butts. That's how you get from procrastination to execution. And there's another way, Mark, and I think when you talk about thriving, we can even take but and says, I couldn't do it, but now I'm going to learn. I didn't know what to do, but I'm going to take the time to learn what to do. I don't have enough strength, but I can work on my strength so I can do it. You understand? It's a matter now of if we want to thrive and come alive in 2025, if you will, then what we want to do is we want to just flip the coin, man, flip the switch. Whatever is there that's holding us back, let's use it as a springboard to get to the next stage. And not as just some saying, but in really considering what it is that we intend to do in this little time we have left. If that little time is 25, 30 years, it's still, we want to take the time that we have and move it forward. So mindset, prayer, faith, and focus will take us to follow through as the.
All right, guys, listen, I'm not too proud to say I'm getting tired. So I want y'all to take one point that you want to leave with the people on this subject.
Well, one thing that I really wanted to say before we even get into the one point, if you allow me,
Sure.
is a lot of people go to support groups. I want people to beware of their support groups. Beware of the type of support group you go to. There are plenty out there, but there are a lot of support groups that they complain more than they support.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a bunch of, yeah, girl, I was hurting. Yeah, man, I was hurting. You don't need that type of support. You need positive support. You need
Yes.
support where if you're having a problem with doctor visits or your coverage, you need support groups that are going to tell you where to go to get the information you need. You need support groups that are going to lead you to prayer. You need the support groups that are going to lead you to a buddy system. Ours is a natural system. You call me up and Mark is on the phone and that's it. You know what I mean? Ours is a buddy system. Everybody doesn't have a buddy system. But
Mm-hmm.
please get a support group or get support from those that are really seeking to support and uplift you, not keep you level where you got cancer, so what you gonna do? What I'm gonna do is get better mentally. I'm gonna get as strong as I can physically. I'm gonna get all the support I need from my medical coverage or my doctors or whatever. But you don't want to sit or wallow in somewhere where you think you're being supported and you're
Right.
really being just given the plane to sit on.
Very good. Now give us that closing point.
The closing
Well,
point is
that was
we
part
are
of it,
conquerors.
wasn't it?
Yeah, we are conquerors.
Mm-hmm.
I have T-shirts that I've made, and I did it for myself at first, and now people are saying they like the shirt, they like to wear it. One is I did not retire to cancer. I did not retire to cancer. And at first I did the shirt because, as you know, Mark, I got my information right at retirement. And I
Yeah.
thought I didn't retire to this mess. What is this? This is not. I could have kept working if I thought it was going to save me. But I did not retire to cancer. And my son was quick to tell me, no one retires to cancer because no one stops.
Mm-hmm.
You did
Yes.
not retire to cancer. The second one is Jesus kept me when I couldn't keep myself.
All
There's going to
right.
be times where you're going to be too sick to know what's going on and how it's going on. And when you get through it and you look back, you say, well, the only thing that kept me was my faith in God,
Mm-hmm.
my faith and my belief. So Jesus kept me. And then the
Excellent.
third is faith is my umbrella, no matter what the storm.
Amen. Amen. What you got for
So
us,
that's what
Cliff?
I do.
She's got me rocking. Go on, Nanette. Thank you. Listen, there's so many possibilities here. If you got to go and you don't have anything else, that you are going to leave with one thing, just remember this. It's not just you. You are not alone. And
Mhm.
what's even more beautiful, humans can let you down, but there's a spiritual connection that you have available. And everywhere you go, there you are. So you can be your own best friend in this thing. You can say and remind yourself, regardless of what the world brings, regardless of what my body says, I am choosing life today. I'm going to live.
Yes.
Mhm.
Today, I'm going to make something happen for somebody. Today, one of the things you do is you take your mind off yourself and give a gift to someone else. And when you give to someone else, you realize, well, if I can do all that for them, what can I do for me? Thank you, Father.
That's it.
Thank you.
So listen, I want to share something. Cliff, you mentioned my mentor, Les Brown, or something that he always says when he had cancer. He said, the doctor said, your PSA is 2,400 and around 300 is concerned. And then they said, your cancer has metastasized to 7 areas of your body. What I say to is that my knowledge, abilities, and skills have terminated. I determine the diagnosis, but you and God determine the prognosis. And so I want people to know that God is going to determine the prognosis of what happens to you. Keep your faith in God. If people like the three of us who have been through what you may be about to go through or are going through, and you are more than a conqueror. I want to thank you for being on this episode with us, this episode of Mind the Business That Pays You. To both my Michelles, I know you love me, and I know you mean well, but y'all know I had to do this. So why y'all even tripping? Come on now, y'all know who I am. Come on.
That's beautiful.
And so to my friends, thank you very much. We're going to go off live, but don't leave me yet. I just have something else to say afterward. God bless you all, and please subscribe so you won't miss any of this important information.
Blessing, and thank you very much.